All right. Habari za Asabui, Habari za Mchana, Habari za Jioni, brothers and sisters all over the world. Kakas and dadas and kakas all over the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whichever part of the day this message finds you. All right. The name of this channel is The African Times, and I'm Thomas. All right, hey everybody. Just chiming in here. Just need to talk to you about the war. The war, you know the one. Russia, Ukraine, the war, special military operation. That's what it's called by Russia. Well, I'm here to talk to you about the importance and the significance of that war to you. Is it important? Is it relevant to people who look like you and me? African people all over the world. At first glance, superficially, nah, they're not fighting in Africa. They're not fighting in America, Brazil, they're fighting in an isolated area. Now, you gotta excuse me for that. There are trucks and everything passing by. Sorry about that. All right, let me check something out. Hold on one second. All right, I just had to check and make sure to see if it'll calm down for a minute so that the volume won't be disturbed. It's calming down a little bit, but still kind of loud every now and then. A truck will come by. But let me just get back to what I was telling you. I was telling you superficially, no, it's not on your land where you are. You're watching this on television, but that's a superficial view. The actuality is, yes, the war is where you are. The war is where I am in Africa. And the war directly affects you, me, and other people that look like me. In fact, we are at war. Let me explain. Russia, Ukraine. Okay. There are a couple of things that should be understood by people that look like you and me. That war is taking place physically in America, Africa, Europe, and on all the continents of the world. You don't see the physical aspects of it. No bombs are dropping in the places where you are, America, what have you. I'm just using America as an example because that's where I came from. No, the bombs aren't dropping there. But that doesn't mean that there is no war there. As you know, I hope you all know, there's a group, an alliance called NATO. I think North Atlantic Treaty Organization. I think something like that. But it doesn't really matter. The whole point is that it's a group of people who've agreed to align themselves together and work together to achieve the same goals. And it was formed some time ago, I think generally after World War II. But I don't want us to get bogged down into the details of the facts in terms of when and where and how. The fact is that it exists today, and they work together to achieve certain goals. Now, while it may seem it's promoted to everybody that this is an alliance of many countries working together, it's just really not true. It's pretty much an organization that's led by the United States. Now, I'm telling you this because I told you physically they're there. So how are they there physically? Because NATO is an alliance of different countries. NATO is actually participating in the war indirectly. This is what they tell you, indirectly. They're sending military supplies, money, things of that nature, consultation, whatever. Everything that's involved to keep the war going they're aiding in the supplying of that to Ukraine. So they've chosen a side. Now, that means, it's anybody who knows that, Russia is aware of that. So if Russia is aware of that, that means that Russia understands that they're, in the media, the reports that they're at war with Ukraine. But if the other groups are helping to supply Ukraine with weapons and soldiers and personnel and intel and all other kinds of things that would help them fight Russia, then Russia knows that they're not only at war with Ukraine, they're at war with those countries that are helping to provide those resources. Right now, why is that important to you? Well, like I told you, both physically, that means that at some point this could escalate to where it's just not a supplying of resources to Ukraine and Russia continues to do nothing about that. It could actually lead to Russia saying, okay, well, we're going to have to stop these supply lines. And if these supply lines are coming from a group of countries, whatever they call themselves, if they're aligned together, then they may have to stop those supply lines in those countries, which means what? And now it's no longer a conceptual attack on the land, just on paper and just talking and things like that, but they actually may physically take it out, actually do damage in those places. So the other part of it is that there's a conscious and subconscious war being waged in your land against you, against me, against people that look like us. And I'm getting to why it's significant, and that's because consciously, okay, you look at the war, I look at the war, we look at the war, and if we aren't careful, we'll think that that's just a war between Russia and Ukraine. And as I told you, Ukraine is being backed and supported by NATO, which is really the United States leading a group of people, a group of nations. You hear the term proxy war, which means it's the United States war against Russia, but because the United States is saying we don't have soldiers there physically, they call it a proxy war because it's really the United States fighting them, but they're not physically or officially, I should say, declaring war. Okay. Now again, why is this significant to you, to me, to black people, African people? Well, subconsciously and consciously, we're being told that it had nothing to do with us. We are not at war. Okay. But if you watch closely and listen to kind of some of the subplots, the backstories, the things like that, and you listen to Russia talk, they're talking about NATO spreading itself. And remember, NATO is a group of countries, the West, remember the W's, a group of countries that have agreed to work together, both militarily, but also economically. That's why I tell you, it's very important to understand economics plays a very important role. You can't have a military unless you have a strong economy. You understand? And you can have a weak military and you have a weak economy, but if you have a strong economy, particularly economy strong enough so that it can develop a military, then you can have security. These countries have aligned themselves under the name of NATO, economically and militarily, and they're spreading out. They're spreading out their military apparatus. They're placing military personnel in areas. And this is a problem Russia has, because they have placed their military apparatus closer over time, closer and closer and closer, until it got to the borders of Russia. And Russia has said that, no, we're not going to accept that. And if you cross this particular line, then we're going to act. And people are serious about it, so they acted. All right? Now, again, what does this have to do with you? Well, consciously and subconsciously, they're telling you it has nothing to do with you. Africans, Africa. Well, here's how it has something to do with you. As I told you, economically, those people come together. Well, Africa and Africans do a great deal of economic business with Russia. And they've even begun, Russia and other countries, they call themselves BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. To organize and align themselves economically. And remember, as I told you, align yourself economically. Even if you don't say you're doing it militarily, you are aligning yourself militarily. And you have to do that because you have to, if you're going to have a strong economy, you have to have a military to protect that economy. Because there are people who in the world want to maintain their economic dominance, the West, the W's. So if you don't provide yourself a military, if you're trying to become an economic power, if you don't provide yourself with a military, you won't be able to protect your economic power once you develop it. And this is again, what does it have to do with you? Africa is a very, very, very powerful nation, powerful, I like to call it one country, one Africa. Even though it's made up of, I think, 54, 55 countries. But it's one Africa. They just don't know it yet, and we've got to develop to that point. But what I'm saying to you is that you hear about the rise of China, and you don't hear a great deal about the rise of India, but India is a pretty powerful economy as well. Well, that's coming for Africa, too. They're working to prevent that from happening, and that's where the military comes in. Because if you're going to say, no, we're not going to let you prevent us from rising, you're going to have a military to protect yourself from these people. Because as you know, there are certain people like the West, the Americans, they want it to be the way they want it. They want their economy to be number one. So they tell you there is no war, you don't have anything to do with it. But the reality is it is a template of what is going to happen to you if you start to try to develop and compete with them. So in essence, they are at war with you too. You're just down the line. But if in your mind you don't realize you're at war, then you don't plan for it, prepare for it, put yourself in a position to be able to develop your infrastructure so that when the time occurs that you need to have a military in place to protect yourself, you won't do that because you've never prepared. That's why it's important to you. Let me give you an example. It's flying here, shit. So if the truck just hit the Bajaj. If you understand that you're at war right now, that's a misdirection over there in Russia because they're telling you constantly that has nothing to do with you. But it does because, one, you need to recognize the strategy they're using to fight them. Again, they're doing it the same way. They're telling them we ain't at war with you. No, you're at war with Ukraine. But what? The backstory. They're supplying Ukraine with weapons and they're doing all these things, personnel and consultation and instruction. Do you understand? So now you have to be vigilant because that's what they're going to do to you. They have the same playbook. They keep doing it over and over again as long as it's working. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. Okay, like I was saying, I'm back. Thanks for waiting there. They have the same playbook. So if it's working, they're going to do it to you. So I want you to understand fully in that truck. I want you to understand fully. When you watch TV, CNN or whatever you watch, MSNBC, Fox, whatever you watch, or BBC or whatever, and you see those bombs, missiles landing in various places, that should be a warning to you. You're next. They're just going down the line. It should be a warning to you. And it should tell you that you have some time if you prepare. You got to prepare quickly though. But you have some time to prepare. So let me give you an example when I say time to prepare. This war did not start now. Go back to 2000. I think they're reporting. These are their reports. Go back to 2008. You know Obama, that brother? Yeah, go back to 2008 when they started to have these different agreements and arrangements. And Russia told them then, if you continue to expand, if you keep doing it, see, you can go back even further than that. They told them. They had meetings about it. If you continue to expand, it's going to create a problem. And if you get to this point, we got a red line. We're going to draw it. If you get to this point, we're gonna act. And those people aren't playing. They're not talking. They're going to act. All right. So in 2014, they had some discussions or some agreements or whatever, and this is when it really jumped off. They was like, hey, look, we done told you again, we're not playing. All right, go ahead, do what you're gonna do. You're gonna see. And now, in 2022, NATO and its people and its alliance, they wanted Ukraine to join, which is crossing that line that Russia is talking about. And so then Russia acted. But again, that means you're watching, you know, you got 10, 15, 20 years. I'm talking about leaders of the various nations, where people who look like me and you, where they are in leadership roles. You have time. So then that means 15, 20 years, you got generations of kids in school that you're supposed to be teaching about the dangers of this possibility of what's happening with them, with bombs and technology. And you see all the different systems, military systems of defense. They call it defense, but clearly things are offensively taking place, right? Because it's war. Well, if you are not putting in the minds of your children, of black people, African boys and girls, that technologically they have to be studying and in school to prepare, so that technologically 10, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we're prepared to develop those systems necessary to protect us and our future and our posterity, so that when these people decide to stop us, in case we begin to rise economically, and we are, so we know then, if we know that we're rising economically now, we're going to rise economically then. It's going to happen. Because it's happening now. We just haven't reached that level where they say that they got to get us because they got to deal with these other people, China and Russia. And what they're hoping is after we deal with them, okay, we'll get you later. And they're going to try to get you to join in with them. Oh, we're all together. That's why it's affecting you. It's very important. It's the most important thing happening to you. And our good brother, Grandmaster Jay, and all the other groups who understand that. Because they see it. They're not playing. And these people aren't playing. So, again, you are at war. They just haven't gotten to you yet. You have some time to prepare, but you have to understand the preparation is with future generations, the children. Those children have to be focused and redirected, not to the music videos and all that foolishness and the movies and all that foolishness. I told you Black Panther just a cartoon. And even in the first Black Panther, what? He was under the direction of the CIA. Why? It has nothing to do with you. Take your CIA, go back over there. So it's a very serious situation. I need you guys to understand. I'm trying to explain it to you so that when you have a child, I know I'm telling my children, no, you gotta get the science together. We're gonna have to get that together. It's gonna have to be our focus. No dancing and hip hop and all this. Not that that's bad. It's just that we have to have a redirection of the focus so that we can prepare to defend ourselves against these people with their technological weapons. And this is very serious to understand. And have these discussions. There's nothing wrong with having these discussions. Even now, me talking to you about this there's nothing wrong with that. I'm supposed to be talking to you about this. The people who are upset because black people are aware that we live in a world where people can rain bombs from miles up in the sky down on you from miles and miles and miles away. No, we're supposed to be preparing ourselves and making sure that we have the weapons and technology to defend ourselves. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If people get upset because I'm saying we need to defend ourselves, I keep telling you, they are all saying that. And you have to be a fool not to place that in the consciousness and subconsciousness of your people. That's why I'm saying it. Oh, listen, I'm aware that people don't like it. People that don't look like me and you, they don't like that. I'm sure, but what are you going to do? If you don't do anything, if you don't talk about it, prepare and put it in the minds and consciousness of your children so that they know what they have to deal with, they know what problems they have to solve, then we're condemning our children and our future to eternal servitude to these people. I'm not gonna do that. Not as long as I got air in my body. I'm gonna talk about it. Because for me, I was a victim of it. I wasn't, and you too, many of you, most of us, our focus was on other things that have nothing to do with our survival. That's why they keep us. They'll throw up political things. I saw a thing the other day, and they had, I think the African people were there talking there, and we're going to talk about that, the African Summit in the United States, and they had Steve Harvey in there. Interesting. So again, it's the war is against you. It affects you. You're gonna have to think about it and start talking about it and start preparing our children so that our children know that they have to study and prepare technologically because they're coming. They're coming. They just haven't got to us because they know that they're keeping us in a position where we're not economically strong, so they don't have to deal with us right now. I'm gonna play a clip for you later where there's a guy, former Colonel, United States Colonel McGregor, Douglas McGregor, I think is his name, and he said, well, we don't really have to deal with the CIA and all that a great deal, toppling the African countries because they're weak societies, along with the Middle Eastern societies. He said this is not me saying it, but he said something to that effect, that they're weak societies. And what they mean is the internal struggles that we have with each other, because we're not focused. I'm not saying all, because I'm sure there are some leaders who understand. But I think if you listen to President Museveni of Uganda, he did a lecture where he talked about the chiefs and what was happening at the time. They were warned that these people were coming hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. But they didn't understand that they're going to have to unite against these people and prepare. They didn't understand it then, and we're still struggling with that now. That's got to end. That's why you hear everybody talking about unity, unity, unity. And I'm going to tell you, one China. It's one China. That's their policy. And we have to have a one Africa policy. Not that we're following China, following anybody. Just basically, we have to be together. And you can term it any way you want. All right, so look, the war is affecting you. It's here. Learn from it. Take advantage of it. See what's happening. Prepare ourselves and do those things. Because it is a war against us. That's why they call it World War. All right, and you align yourself in particular groups. But we got enough of us. We can be strong. It's enough of us. Just like China, they know they're strong. It's enough of them. They've developed their weaponry. They've developed their military defenses. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're going to have to do that too. All right? All right. All right. Love you all. I hope you understand. All right. Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru.